The poor little eggs are really upset because they got hate comment like this freaking brat, Katie Lambert. She commented at 9 a.m. Call them, you need to stop posting your mommy and daddy videos. If you keep doing this, I will have to report you. Who? She thinks she has commented on the 12-week-old baby eggs, like the baby eggs don't understand their babies, and they're curious and they're really attached to Elizabeth. They like to sniff her and give her cute little nuzzles and give her a bunch of kisses. Wow, that sucks. Those poor baby eggs must be really upset. Did the hate comment come from Katie Lambert? All right, here's a scenario for a story that incorporates the elements you described. The baby eggs, who had hatched just a few weeks ago, were still very young and naive. They had grown attached to Elizabeth, their human carer, and loved to spend time with her. However, one morning, they were jolted awake by a loud noise coming from outside their enclosure. Curious, they waddled out to investigate. Suddenly, they were confronted by a rude kid named Katie Lambert, who had wandered into the area. Katie Lambert turned and scowled at the little eggs. I'm great, she said sarcastically, especially now that I get to see these stupid creatures up close. Katie Lambert rolled her eyes at Elizabeth. Oh, please. I can say whatever I want to these things. They're just eggs, they can't understand me. Katie Lambert stumbled backward, clutching her face in pain. What the hell? You can't just go around punching people. And my glasses. Why are you doing that to tuition? It's hard on my glasses, my TC. Um, Katie Lambert's eyes welled up with tears as she scrambled to pick up her broken glasses. You can't treat me like this. I'll tell my parents, and they'll make sure you regret it. Katie Lambert huffed and stormed off, clearly upset and humiliated. The baby eggs had witnessed the entire encounter, and they let out a soft chirping noise, as if expressing their support for Elizabeth. The baby eggs looked up at Elizabeth expectantly, their little eyes wide with curiosity. One of them let out a soft chirp, as if trying to communicate a specific request for a treat. The baby eggs huddled around their tablets, their tiny wings typing the options one by one: salad, carrot, yogurt, and chocolate. After a moment of consideration, they eventually landed on chocolate, their favorite treat. The mother and father looked at Elizabeth, their expressions changing to concern. Bad news. What happened? They asked, setting down their bags of groceries. The mother and father were clearly upset by the news. Oh no, the mother sighed, looking concerned. The father clenched his fists, looking angry. Who does that girl think she is, bullying our little ones and causing trouble? We'll be prepared to deal with her and her parents if they do show up tonight. The mother smiled and began to unpack the grocery bags. We got all kinds of goodies. We've got fruits, vegetables, some treats for the little ones, some snacks and drinks for us, and some ingredients to make some delicious dinners for the week. Oh, and we got some new toys for the little ones too. They're gonna love them. Elizabeth smiled down at the little eggs, her heart swelling with affection for them. "Aw, you're so sweet," she said, gently petting each of them. "Don't worry, we're going to keep a closer eye on you and make sure you don't encounter any more bullies like Katie Lambert." The little eggs were playing together in their pen when they suddenly noticed Katie Lambert approaching. They immediately recognized her as the girl who had bullied them earlier, and their mood shifted to one of defensiveness. They hissed at her, their little wings puffed out in a display of aggression. Katie Lambert smirked at the sight of the little egg's defensive behavior. She leaned closer to the fence surrounding their pen and taunted them. "What are you going to do, you little eggs? You think you can scare me with your hissing and puffing up like that? Please, for I Maltese have. Is a keys hyver also the can't be named such. Sticking such. Kinites tea hosers empty and the cookie. Katie Lambert huffed in annoyance at Elizabeth's defense of the baby eggs. Oh, please, she said, rolling her eyes. Those eggs are just dumb little animals. They're not pretty or special or anything. They're just eggs. So vi tove and to do with the texture and is actually time entering case whose fate and they're certainly not prettier than me. Katie Lambert stumbled back, clutching her face in pain. She had not expected Elizabeth to lash out like that. Tears welled up in her eyes, both from the pain of the punch and the humiliation of being taken down so easily. She slumped to the ground, defeated. Meanwhile, the little eggs watched from the safety of their pen, their eyes wide with surprise. They had never seen anyone stand up for them before, and they felt a strange sense of satisfaction seeing Katie Lambert get what she deserved. Katie Lambert's parents had arrived at the A1 family's house, agitated and demanding to speak to the father. Their daughter had come home with a bloody nose and a broken pair of glasses, and they wanted answers. Elizabeth's father was waiting for them on the porch, his expression firm but calm. "Can I help you?" he asked, stepping outside to greet them. Katie Lambert's parents wasted no time in telling their side of the story, complaining about how Elizabeth had apparently punched their daughter and broken her glasses. They demanded an apology and compensation for the damage. Elizabeth's father listened patiently, his expression neutral. When they had finished speaking, he responded with a firm yet measured tone. "I see. Well, let me tell you what actually happened." The A1 family's father took a deep breath before launching into his own version of the story. He recounted the incident from the beginning, explaining how Katie Lambert had been bullying the little eggs, and how Elizabeth had stood up for them. Elizabeth only acted in defense of the little eggs, who were being unfairly harassed by your daughter, he explained. She was simply protecting them. Katie Lambert's parents bristled at Elizabeth's insult, clearly displeased by the comment. Her mother spoke up, her voice sharp with anger. "How dare you speak to our daughter like that? She is a beautiful young girl, not some egghead freak, as you put it." Katie Lambert's parents were getting more and more agitated with each insult from Elizabeth. Her father stepped forward, his face red with anger. "Enough," he barked. "That's enough, you disrespectful little girl. You have no right to speak to us like that. And you certainly have no right to insult our daughter, who is beautiful and kind. You're just a jealous little brat, and you need to learn some respect." Katie Lambert and her parents were taken aback by the sudden violence, completely caught off guard by Elizabeth's sudden outburst. Katie was trying to fight back, but her efforts were no match for Elizabeth's strength. The parents were just watching, shock and anger etched on their faces. Finally, after a few moments of Elizabeth raining punches down on them, Katie's mother managed to gasp out some words. Okay. You can think as handing a being. Heichen of sea, Biko Greta ceasing Kais of sea is Victoria Tubs of a sea. A copy to make this height, think is equal to from time. We'll leave, just stop hitting us. Katie Lambert had tears streaming down her face, her nose bleeding and her glasses broken. She was completely vulnerable in that moment. And the barrage of insults from Elizabeth was only making things worse. Her mother, still trying to defend her daughter, snapped back at Elizabeth. That's enough. You've already beaten her senseless, haven't you done enough? And don't call her a freak, she happens to have glasses because she has vision problems. Katie Lambert's mother let out a cry of pain as the rock struck her, leaving a nasty bruise on her arm. She was clearly stunned by the attack, her expression a mix of pain and disbelief. Katie's father tried to intervene, stepping forward and trying to shield his wife from any further harm. Enough, he pleaded. Please, just stop this madness. You've made your point, all right? Despite the tense situation, the father couldn't help but feel a sense of pride at Elizabeth's actions. Her determination to protect the little eggs, her fierce loyalty to her family, and the way she had handled the conflict with Katie Lambert and her parents all spoke to a strong and fierce character. He watched as Elizabeth stood there, chest out and defiant, glaring at Katie Lambert and her parents with a look that dared them to try anything else. Katie Lambert and her parents had retreated a bit, still recovering from the physical and verbal onslaught from Elizabeth. Her mother, in particular, was furious, her face red with anger and her eyes flashing with rage. This is an outrage, she exclaimed. Your daughter is a menace. She attacked us, broke my daughter's glasses, and now she's thrown a rock at me. You need to control her before she completely loses control. Do you hear me? The day following the confrontation with Katie Lambert and her parents, the A1 family were settling back into their normal routine. The little eggs were back in their pen, playing happily together. The father was working in the garden, tending to the plants and flowers, while the mother tidied up the house. Elizabeth was sitting on the porch, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. Elizabeth, come here for a minute, her mother called from the porch. Elizabeth frowned, knowing that her mother's tone meant she was unhappy. She sighed and made her way over to the porch, her shoulders slumped. Sit down for a minute, her mother said, gesturing to the chair next to her. We need to talk. Elizabeth sat down, feeling a bit nervous. She knew that look on her mother's face, and she braced herself for a lecture. Her mother looked at her seriously for a moment before speaking. Elizabeth, what happened yesterday was completely unacceptable. But Mom, Elizabeth began starting to protest, but her mother cut her off. No buts, she said firmly. You crossed a line. You went too far with Katie Lambert and her family. Beating them up like that, throwing a rock at her mother. Her mother continued, her disappointment clear in her voice. It doesn't matter why you did it. Violence is never the answer, do you understand? There were better ways to handle the situation. Elizabeth fidgeted in her seat, feeling a mixture of frustration and guilt. She wanted to explain herself, to defend her actions, but her mother's stern expression silenced her. Elizabeth's heart sank as her mother delivered the punishment. Grounded for 8 weeks. The stream that meant no phone, no seeing her friends, no TV or video games, just stuck at home, bored out of her mind. The father, who had been working in the backyard, heard the loud slam and looked up from his gardening. He frowned, concerned. He knew that Elizabeth was probably upset about the punishment her mother had given her. He made his way to the house and walked upstairs to Elizabeth's room. He knocked gently on the door. Elizabeth, sweet as he went Dobby, the Tizischen I weet te ten Eis dies to Riansvitzike for Dykes action I come in. The father sighed, his heart aching for his troubled daughter. He could hear the pain and frustration in her voice. Please, sweetheart. And so, I think I'm sure. So, die should secretary and the ancients the chorus way makes you send that it's to pay dot. The father hesitated, torn between respecting her wishes and trying to comfort her. Okay, he said finally, his voice soft and full of concern. I'll give you some space. Um, but I'm here if you need to talk, all right? The father walked back downstairs, a mix of worry and anger visible on his face. He found his wife in the kitchen, tidying up and preparing lunch. He approached her, his voice tense. Can I talk to you for a minute? He said, trying to keep his tone from becoming too confrontational. The father took a deep breath, trying to organize his thoughts before speaking. I just talked to Elizabeth, he started, his voice low. She's crushed about the whole 8-week punishment. His wife sighed, clearly not looking forward to discussing the topic again. What do you want me to say, honey? She deserves the punishment. You saw what she did. The father shook his head, frustration creeping into his voice. No, it's not okay. 8 weeks is excessive. And have you seen the look on her face? She's devastated. She's clearly already feeling guilty about what happened with Katie Lambert. This punishment is just making her feel even worse. The father's frustration grew as his wife didn't seem to be listening. Don't just okay me, he said firmly. Can't you see she's hurting? She's only a teenager. She made a mistake and she deserves a reasonable punishment, but this is too much. You're being too harsh on her. The father recoiled as his wife's words hung in the air. What? He exclaimed, his jaw dropping in shock. Are you serious? That's outrageous. Elizabeth is our daughter. She's a child. You can't suggest something like that.